We're seeing increased reports that Donald Trump's callous and reckless purging of the federal workforce is directly impacting people in that workforce who ironically supported and voted for Trump himself, much to their dismay. It's gotten so bad that a prominent MAGA actor went on Fox News to beg Trump to stop, and then a day or two later, the same MAGA Fox News host he was talking to also went on camera to beg Trump to stop. And on top of all of that, Trump is also purging disabled veterans from the workforce as well. Disgusting all the way around. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have a couple of clips to play in this video, and it kind of combines several things. Again, Trump is purging veterans from the workforce, disabled veterans from the workforce, and people who may or may not be veterans or disabled veterans who also supported and voted for Trump as well. People who expected that other people would be targeted by Trump's purge, not they themselves who are Trump supporters. So again, we're talking about veterans, disabled veterans, and Trump supporters who may or may not be veterans or disabled veterans, all caught in this reckless, callous purge by Trump himself. And I want to start with this clip here. This is the most recent one from Jesse Watters, who's basically the heir apparent to Tucker Carlson on Fox News. He's nowhere near as successful or as viral, but he's their attempt to replace him. This is what he had to say about a friend of his who's a veteran who is a victim of Trump's purge.
First of all, $55 billion is a lot of money, okay? And they haven't even upgraded the software yet. The software is from the 60s.
That's right.
Once they upgrade the software, you'll streamline it and you'll save money. Let me tell you a story about Chris. Chris was a guy I met at a shooting event in New Jersey last year.
Was Chris in the interview? Or this is another guy? This is Chris.
Is it a male or female?
Let me finish.
Oh.
55 billion.
I love you. And so he was a 20-year veteran of the U.S. military. He was one of these guys in one of these elite units. Killed a lot of bad guys. Put his life on the line. And now he punched out after 20 years and working for the Pentagon. And he's only been there a few months, so he's probationary. And he just found out he's probably going to get laid off. He's going to get doged. And he texted me and he said, Jesse, you know, this isn't good. I'm upset. This is really sad. And this guy's not a DEI consultant. This guy's not a climate consultant. You know, this guy is a veteran. So when you're talking about doging people, veterans should get priority. Because if you're going to go out there and kill enemies and put your life on the line for this country, you shouldn't be in the same category as people that are doing DEI. Now, Harold and his ilk like to talk about the slash and burn corporate ethos. We just need to be a little bit less callous with the way, Harold, we talk about doging people. Okay, I want that to sink in.
You're arguing with yourself.
I am not guilty of that.
He is arguing with himself. He is, because prior to this, Jesse Watters enthusiastically approached the slash and burn, bring it all down, don't be discriminate, don't be precise, purge them all, own the libs approach. And now he's visibly emotional and surprisingly pleading on behalf of his friend. And I'm kind of surprised by that because Watters doesn't strike me as having that sort of integrity, potentially risking backlash, by the way, from other Trump influencers and Trump himself by saying, hey, please don't do this. Protect my friend. Of course, he also has to couch it in bullshit where he throws DEI and wokeness under the... No, it's not like that. Punish the other people. Punish people that I think are there because of DEI and wokeness, you know, minorities and women. Like, go ahead. But my friend who's a veteran, spare him. Well, his friend who is a veteran should be spared. And so should other people in the federal workforce as well, regardless if you think they're there because of DEI. If they're there, if they're good at their job, you should keep them on. That's how it should be. But it took Jesse Watters experiencing somebody who he knows being impacted by Trump's policies that Jesse Watters enthusiastically supported. It took that to have anything close to a wake-up call for Watters himself, where basic empathy should have gotten you there to begin with. I want to play another clip, though. It's actually from a day or two prior to the clip I just showed you, but it also involves Jesse Watters, and it involves Zachary Levi, who is a prominent actor. He's in the DC Extended Universe. He plays Shazam, the superhero Shazam. I know him from Chuck, which was one of my favorite shows. Came out in like 2007, so when I was like in high school. It was an amazing show. But he, unfortunately, is a diehard MAGA actor. He also went on Fox News to beg Trump to be careful because Trump's purge, to Zachary Levi, is hurting the wrong people. It's actually hurting a lot of MAGA voters as well.
When you see people singing 1960s style, when you see Kamala Harris on Broadway, inspiring people, as you know she's capable of, what does that tell you about the trajectory that everybody's on?
I don't know. They're trying to find answers, man. You know, listen, for people sitting where we're sitting, I was very supportive of Bobby Kennedy. That led me to Donald Trump. And I am so grateful. I am so grateful that the election went the way that it did. And specifically because people like Bobby and Tulsi Gabbard are now in there and confirmed and can do the work. And listen, Doge is complicated, right? Like, there are a lot of people that are very afraid right now because there are truly good working people that work for the government that are getting lost in the cracks. And we have got to do something about that. Please, Elon and all of your team and whatever needs to happen, please don't let everybody fall through the cracks as we are doing what is necessary, which is to get in there and like cut a cancer out, man. You know, sometimes they go in for cancer surgeries, doctors, and you lose some good, healthy tissue along in that. They don't want to do that, but it's a part of like extracting that darkness out of there. And right now, that's what's happening. But there are good people that voted for Donald Trump who are losing their job. And we got to make sure that we don't leave those folks behind.
Well said. Tell me about
And of course, then Jesse Watters is quick to move on. Well said, moves on, because that was apparently before he found out that one of his own friends was one of those people affected by Trump's purge. Then it's personal, then it's real, and then he feels somewhat obligated to tepidly say, "Oh my gosh, can we protect the Trump voters? Can we protect the veterans? Veterans should be protected." Quite frankly, I think even Trump supporters shouldn't be fired simply because they're Trump supporters. I also have to balance that, quite frankly, with some introspection here. It's like Trump made no bones about what he intended to do. And he's actually falling, like the whole notion was basically a blanket cut of the federal government. It's what he promised. He didn't promise to be particularly discreet or discriminate. And you're surprised by this? Interesting. So Business Insider has also talked about this. They voted for Trump. Now some of their jobs are at risk. They have a deeper article about this. What Trump-supporting federal workers think of his blitz to shake up the government. Trump's plan to reshape the federal workforce is underway. Some federal workers say they voted for Trump thinking he helped the economy and struggling Americans. And while they support cutting government waste, some don't think all federal workers should be targeted. Many federal workers have expressed outrage and despair at Trump's workforce mandates. But what about those who filled in the bubble next to his name on the ballot? Quote, "I voted for Trump. I wanted to see some positive change," a federal worker employee of 17 years told Business Insider, adding that they didn't know that the change would put them at risk of losing their job. While some of the hot-button issues Trump is tackling, such as eliminating diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives and cutting spending, may resonate with right-leaning workers, policies such as remote work and cutting the government's headcount haven't traditionally been partisan matters. As of Thursday, about 75,000 employees had accepted the president's buyout offer. It's about 3.75% of the federal workforce, inching closer to the White House's goal of reducing the federal staff count by 5 to 10%. 4 federal employees who said they voted for Trump spoke with Business Insider about their feelings on his approach to the federal workforce. And if you read the article, they're not happy with what he's doing. Again, it's the meme of, I didn't think the leopard would eat my face, said the voters of the leopard face-eating, or the face-eating leopard party. It's just like, I'd still have sympathy for them, but also some profound frustration. And I think it's okay to actually convey that to people. Like, you should probably pay more attention about who you vote for, especially because, again, this isn't a bait and switch. He didn't promise you one thing and do another. Although I would argue, given his history of dishonesty, you should also have expected that. He made it very clear that he was not going to be particularly surgical when it came to purging the federal workforce. And that should be factored in. The bigger issue for me is Trump's purge is also targeting disabled veterans and veterans of any political persuasion. Conservative disabled veterans, liberal disabled veterans, liberal veterans, conservative veterans, it doesn't matter. Veterans. When Trump is supposed to be leading the pro-military party, they're being targeted. Doge in practice, disabled Army veteran who has 4 kids and did 3 tours overseas, is fired from his job at the Bronx VA hospital. Luke Graziani, a disabled Army veteran, was 5 weeks from completing his probation year on Friday when he logged into his work computer at the Bronx Veterans Affairs Hospital. Waiting on the screen was a boilerplate termination email citing performance concerns. Graziani printed out the message and took it to his boss, who was shocked and promised to submit a request for exemption. Quote, "You're critical staff," Graziani recalled his boss saying, quote, "We're going to try." Graziani, who is 45 and has 4 children, had believed until this weekend that his veteran status would protect his job. He served 20 years in the Army, first as a supply specialist and then in public affairs, deploying for 2 tours in Iraq and another 2 in Afghanistan before retiring in 2023. And this is from an excerpt from the Washington Post, a really compelling article saying Trump administration fires thousands for performance without evidence in messy rush. So yeah, this is devastating. It really is. Actually, I am going to play one clip here from a state senator from Texas who had this to say about Trump's purging of federal workers, which also impacted, again, veterans and disabled veterans.
Oh, everybody, Senator Roland Gutierrez. I just heard on the radio right now, I'm headed down to Laredo. I just heard that the Trump administration just fired 1,000 VA employees yesterday. Imagine that. Our veterans are struggling to get their health care needs met at our VA hospitals, and this goddamn moron goes and fires 1,000 employees. Those are the people that help our veterans get their benefits. Those are the doctors and nurses and technicians and everyone that helps our veterans get their benefits. This moron and his friend Musk are so adamant about trying to get a tax cut to benefit their wealthy friends that they want to screw our veterans. I'm calling on our governor. By the way, 10% of those 1,000 employees are likely from Texas. We have the highest population of veterans in the nation. I'm calling on our governor to send a letter to Washington to ensure that this doesn't happen, to push back, to safeguard those employees. And I'm secondly calling on the Senate and the House of Representatives in the Texas Capitol to make sure that our Veterans Commission gets more employees to make up for this gap. But I'm going to tell you right now, you don't mess with our veterans, Trump. You better watch what you're doing, because you're messing with our veterans and you don't know what you're doing. We don't care about your tax cuts that are only there to benefit rich people when you screw all the rest of us.
So yeah, calling Trump a goddamn moron, which he is. I mean, that's fair enough. And quite frankly, I think people should be speaking about Donald Trump in that way, with accurate disrespect more often. I mean, the shit they said about President Biden means we are well past decorum and civility. Don't call him president. Don't treat him with respect. Show your contempt, the contempt that he so richly deserves for these indiscriminate firings which have hit veterans, disabled veterans, and ironically, even Trump supporters themselves. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.